Jambo. That's a Swahili word meaning hello. I'm Lenrod Nzulu Baraka, founder of Afro-Caribbean Spiritual Teaching Center and Children of Kush Publications. As a student of history and religion, it is my lifelong ambition to create a unified body of knowledge which can then be used as a basis to further the liberation of people of African ancestry. The Afro-Caribbean Spiritual Teaching Center seeks to create a paradigm shift in Black thought. I believe this is necessary because when our ancestors were brought over from Africa, they were systematically robbed of their history and their culture, their folkways, their mores, their religion, their languages, and even of their needs. The objective of this process was to destroy the unique African personality or personhood of our enslaved ancestors. It was never the intention of those who captured our enslaved ancestors and brought them into the new world. It was never their intention to bring us here for us to become a great people. Instead, what they wanted was a free source of labor. And so everything was done to strip us down to the very lowest level of brute beasts, so that we could become cogs in the industrial machinery that was used to produce wealth for European civilization. They worked our ancestors from can't see morning to can't see night. And the only rest that was given to our ancestors came on Sunday. And the reason why our ancestors were allowed to rest on Sunday was due to the curious fact that the European Christians, unlike the Jews, felt that Sunday, the first day of the week, was in fact the Christian Sabbath. And right there in the heart of the Ten Commandments, there's the commandment about the Sabbath, and it says that on the Sabbath, not only should believers rest, but also your servant and your maid servant and your manservant. We are going to get back to that in a future broadcast. The whole idea that right in the very heart of the Ten Commandments that are so heavily publicized both in Jewish and Christian circles, there is a sanction for the possession of men servants and maid servants, which seems to me like a official sanctioning of the institution of slavery. And that's an issue that has to be looked at very seriously. Every effort was also made to keep our ancestors in a state of ignorance. In other words, they wanted our ancestors to be as ignorant as rocks. And so the laws were passed, which were basically designed to make sure that our ancestors would not be able to acquire even basic skills of reading and writing. It was such a serious thing that any white person who attempted to educate Black people also was in contrariance of these laws and could be fined or even worse. Now, with respect to religion, initially it was felt that Black people did not have souls and therefore religious instruction was wasted on Black people. But ultimately, that concept changed and it was decided that Black people should be indoctrinated into the rudiments of the Christian faith. But there was a problem, and the problem simply was that in the Bible, you have the story of the liberation of the slaves from Egyptian bondage. And many people felt that this would not do. If Black people were to read about a liberation struggle in the Bible, they may think that the Bible was all for the liberation of Black people. And this might have spurred in our enslaved African ancestors a desire for freedom. And actually it did. If you go back and you look at the history of some of the individuals who started slave revolts. Nat Turner is one striking example. Nat Turner was influenced by the Bible and the whole Exodus narrative. But eventually it was decided that they would allow our ancestors to be indoctrinated into the rudiments of Christian faith. But as I like to say, we were taught what is referred to as religion 2.0. It was not the original doctrine that was taught by the Christ, but rather it was a deviant doctrine that it developed in Europe and stretched way back into about the 4th century when Constantine allegedly became a Christian. Now, this new variant of the doctrine of the Christ, they emphasized and they stressed in the minds of Black people passages which said, servants, obey your masters in the Lord, for it is good. They stress things like turning the other cheek when you were slapped, or enslaved ancestors were taught that we should love our enemies and that we should pray for those who despitefully use us and persecute us. Ironically, if you listen to many preachers today, you would find that this is still the kind of rhetoric that contemporary Black preachers engage in, advocating love to the enemy and turning the other cheek and praying for those who let loose dogs and water cannons on you. That's the kind of doctrine that was very favorably declared by Martin Luther and in more recent times, Reverend Barber in the US. I like to listen to Reverend Barber, but if you listen to what he's saying, you would realize that his method is pretty much like Martin Luther King, nonviolent resistance. And I keep asking people, how could nonviolent resistance be the only option available to men and women of faith? When you look through the Bible, you'll see that nonviolent resistance was not the only option. David did not use nonviolent resistance when he came up against Goliath. He struck Goliath in his head with a rock, then cut his neck off. That was not nonviolence. But that too is a story for another day. Afro-Caribbean Spiritual Teaching Center seeks to create a kind of opposing view to the Eurocentric thought patterns that have been thrust on us for centuries. Now, Children of Kush Publications has been created specifically to achieve 3 objectives. Number 1, we try to encourage people of African ancestry to do a little bit more reading. Now, a little earlier, I made mention of the fact that laws were passed during the bad old days of slavery, which were designed to keep Black people illiterate. Now, when you look at people of African ancestry today, especially when you look at their reading habits, you would think that these laws are still in place, because it seems as though books are like, to Black people, what kryptonite is to Superman. Black people simply are not availing themselves to the knowledge that is contained in books. Now, I remember some time ago, I was listening to one of the political satirists who does a talk show in the US, Jimmy Kimmel. And Jimmy Kimmel sent a group of reporters out into the streets to ask people a very simple question. You know, when was the last time you read a book? And some of the answers he got were very, very amusing. Some people could not remember ever reading a book. Then there were some who said the last book they read was at school. And then there were some who said that they don't ever recall reading a book from cover to cover. Now, the interesting thing is that it was a mixed races. The questions were asked to people of all races, not specifically the Black people. But another study that was done seemed to indicate that white people tend to read a little bit more than Black people and Hispanics. Black people also tend to read a little bit more than Hispanics as well. But by and large, we are still behind the eighth ball when it comes to acquiring knowledge, and that is something that we need to correct. And so that's one of the objectives of Children of Kush publication, to get Black people to read a little bit more. But secondly, we not only want Black people to read, we want Black people to read about issues which are affecting the global Black collective. Wherever Black people can be found in significant numbers, you find that we are overrepresented in the bad and underrepresented in the good. When it comes to, like, for example, in the US, prison population, Black people are only about 13 or 14% of the US population. But when you look in jails, you would think that you were in a Black majority country. Black people are overrepresented in terms of degenerative diseases, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease. All of these are things which affect Black people very adversely. It has been recognized in the US, for example, again, when the coronavirus broke out, because of the comorbidities that most Black people suffered from. It was discovered that the mortality rate among Black people was a little higher than the mortality rate among white people, even though white people are percentage-wise greater in number than Black people. So that's the second thing we want to do. We want to get Black people to think a little bit more about issues that are impacting on the global Black collective. And the hope is that as we think about these problems, we can come up with working solutions for some of these problems. And of course, the third objective of Children of Kush publication is to challenge Black people to excellence. You know, those of us who watch Black Panther, you know, we watched it, and the whole Wakandan concept basically captured the imagination of Black people. Now, Wakanda is fictitious, but it is my firm belief that just like how the ancient Egyptians were the shakers and movers in terms of knowledge and technology, so much so that the Greeks, who have been given recognition for wisdom, many of the voices of the Greeks went among the Egyptians to learn their secrets and then came back and did what Europeans really love to do. That is to take over other people's products and goods and services and put their name on them. So just like how the Egyptians were such heavy movers and shakers in knowledge and wisdom, I believe that children of Africa in this day can achieve to that level of greatness. And so we try to encourage excellence in all fields of endeavor, and try to encourage Black people to try to become proficient in not just in sports and in the arts, but also in the sciences and mathematics, in architecture. These were things that we led the world in at one point in time, and I'm certain that we can get back to that position of leadership again. Now, Children of Kush publication is pleased to announce the expansion of its ongoing series, which is entitled Secrets Your Church Won't Tell You. To date, there are 6 books in this series. The 6 books in the series are: number 1, Fortified Chicken Broth for Black Souls; number 2, The Grand Failure, How Christianity Became a Source of Evil in the World; number 3, Out of Babylon, Why Black People Should Leave Most Churches; number 4, Is God a Moral Monster; number 5, The Church That Changed Its Gods, The Rise and Fall of Seventh-day Adventism; and the most recent book that has been published by Children of Kush Publications is The Rebirth of Black Civilization, How Africa and the Caribbean Can Become Great Again. Now, each book in the Secrets Your Church Won't Tell You series can be read separately by itself. But there's an underlying theme that runs through all of the books, and that is a challenge to Eurocentric thought patterns, especially in the field of religion and spirituality. Now, the 6 books in the Secrets Your Church Won't Tell You series are available in both hard copy and in ebook from the Amazon Kindle store. To view the full list of books available from the Kindle store, you can go to this site, amazon.com/author/Leonard Phillips. Let me repeat that again, amazon.com /author/Leonard Phillips, and it's all in lowercase. To find books also, you can just type in the name Leonard R. Phillips or Lenrod Nzulu Baraka, or you can just simply type in the title of the book that you are interested in on the Kindle store, and you should be able to find the information. Happy reading. Now, the Jewish prophet Hosea reminds us that a people without right knowledge may be courting disaster and destruction. Hosea said, "My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge." Now, Black people have been exposed to the wrong body of knowledge during our sojourn in the New World. That knowledge has kept us at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder for centuries. And so as we come to these challenging days, I suggest to us that as Black people, we need new knowledge and we need a new vision that will help us carve out a new future going forward for ourselves and for the global Black collective. Afro-Caribbean Spiritual Teaching Center and Children of Kush publication presents just that, a new thought paradigm for the global Black collective. I hope that this introductory video has piqued your curiosity and that you want to hear more of what we have to say, because there's a lot more that I have to say, and the series that I have envisaged that will follow from this will contain a whole lot of information that is permanent to the rebirth of Black civilization. So please go ahead and like and share this video with your friends and family, both in the diaspora and on the continent of Africa. Asante sana. That is Kiswahili for thank you very much. And I also would like to say goodbye.